short.
Yeah, it's very short.
Yeah, just short and see how
Welcome back, everyone. Now we begin with the fifth session. This session will be a student panel discussion. So before we proceed with the session, I'll just go on with a brief introduction of our chairperson, Dr. Kawari Gilji. Dr. Kawari Gil is an associate professor at Shiv Nadar University, Greater Noida, teaching the political economy of development. She completed her BA, MPhil, and PhD, as well as a postdoctoral fellowship from University of Cambridge, United Kingdom. Since moving back to live in India in 2007, she has worked in a range of spheres, including with the Planning Commission, Government of India, UNICEF, the International Development Research Center, IDRC, and Oxford Policy Management, OPM, before moving back to academia in January 2017. Dr. Kawari ji is also enrolled for the 6th-year Nalanda Diploma course in Buddhist philosophy at Tibet House, New Delhi. Now I request Dr. Kawari La to begin the session.
Thank you so much. Welcome to everybody. So I'm just going to say a few words for 2-3 minutes before we move to the student panel. So I'm going to start by saying that I have just returned from Mungot for the 600th anniversary celebrations of Lama Tsongkhapa, the great, for those of you who do not know about him, the great 14th century scholar, practitioner, master. And so I'm just going to say a few words there, and I'm going to link it to the student-teacher relationship and to knowledge itself. So there are 3 things I want to talk about. The settlements themselves, for those of you who have not visited, Mungot is the 2nd largest settlement in India of Tibetan refugees in exile. The second thing was, of course, as I mentioned, Lama Tsongkhapa's 600th anniversary. They were celebrating his parinirvana in 1419, so 600 years later. And the conference to commemorate his life and legacy and thought. And on these 3 points, I will just say before I will talk about Lama Tsongkhapa a little later in the context of this sutra, his contribution to my mind. But on these settlements, I want to say that for me, having spent 13 years at the University of Cambridge, to see the great seats of learning of Dripung, Gandin, and Sera. Dripung and Gandin are the 2 large monasteries in Mungot, and each of them has 3, you have Loseling, you have Gomang, and you have Lachi. Then for Gandin, you have Jangze, Shatse, and Lachi, and Sera is in Balakupe, Sera, Meje, and Lachi. To see these great seats of learning, and I raise that because I'm chairing a student panel, right? So we are interested in the question of knowledge, of study. So of course, in the early 1960s, His Holiness at that time, the settlement was in Buxa, and the conditions were very difficult, and there was a lot of discussion on whether or not such a site in South India, in the middle of dust and heat, and very different to Tibet, could be a suitable settlement area. And visiting today in 2019, and I speak, as an Indian, I have to say that it's just astounding. So today, 45 to 50% of the monastics there are from the Himalayan regions, Mongolian. So Tibetans in exile have not only flourished themselves and created with His Holiness's efforts and blessings, and every single Tibetan in this room and others, they have actually supported others. So, as a community in exile. And I will say a few things to this tradition of student, teacher, study, knowledge. I'm saying that again and again because ever since I joined Geshe-la's master's course in Buddhism, I've studied harder than I've ever studied in my life, and it's not good enough. And I have studied a lot in my previous life. So what came to mind here, living in Lama Camp 1 and 2, so you're surrounded, so getting up early early. The day begins at 3, 4. It carries on till 12 o'clock at night. They don't just excel. We talked about conventional truth, and I'll come to that. They excel in every aspect of conventional truth, I would say, because they are cooking, they are cleaning, they are serving, they are doing everything, and they are studying, dharma. And within that, Madhyamika and, very serious philosophy. The debate tradition. So His Holiness sat through 2-3 hours in these monasteries listening to debates, and there are serious debates where the monastics forgot that he is sitting there, I think. Very, very senior teachers like Venerable Paladin Drakpa Rinpoche La, Venerable Geshe Yeshe Thapke La, they are in their mid-80s, they are in the early 90s. They are sitting there for hours listening, participating, and then exiting after the event is over. So what, this is really what India's ancient wisdom tradition must have been like as a living tradition. And to also see, that the Guru's house is right around the corner, which was very appealing for me, that you can just go, they are just, living amongst the students. And then I saw the graduation of almost 250 to many monastics, because the last 3 years batches got the Geshe Larimpa degrees, which as we know is 18, 20, 22 years of study. So it was phenomenal, and there are many Geshe-mas here as well. There were Geshe-mas in participating in the conference and also in the degrees. So with those words about my experience there, I would like to link it to the last question that came up on conventional truth and ultimate truth, and just as a bridge to the topic of this conference. So I think as we study, that as the Venerable said very rightly in response to the answer, that at the conventional level, things function, so the 4 mindfulnesses, the body, feelings, mind, phenomena, all of this exists very much so. And it is just that when we start looking at it through the lens of an ultimate analysis, that you go looking towards the object, is there something objectively? And as Arya Nagarjuna says in Ratnavali or Precious Garland, that if the mirage were to be water, why not then you see the water when you go closer to the mirage? So similarly, when we undertake ultimate analysis, that when I go towards, even metaphorically, I go towards the body, or I go towards the feelings or the mind or phenomena and examine what is to be found on the object, as all the previous panel speakers said, there is nothing really to be found. But I want to link this, and I will not go into Lama Tsongkhapa's wonderful contributions. Amongst the many integrations that I heard in this conference in Mungod, they talked about his particular emphasis on marrying emptiness and dependent origination. So, as the previous panel said, that Arya Nagarjuna's verse, that if emptiness is possible, everything is possible. If emptiness is not possible, nothing is possible. So if things existed objectively and there was some inherent existence from the object side, then we cannot really talk about an effect of cause and effect and causes, conditions, relationships, all of that. But because things are empty of objective existence, we can then talk about the various levels of causality, from causes and conditions, wholes and parts, and finally the role of the mind in imputing. So as again Arya Nagarjuna says in Bodhicitta Vivaran, commentary on an awakening mind, there's a verse that in fact those who have a great understanding of emptiness, indeed their compassion is much stronger. And the reason for that is because, as Acharya Chandrakirti says in Uma Jugpa, of the 3 levels of compassion, one, just seeing sentient beings; the second, viewing their impermanence; and the third, the non-referential, or looking at the emptiness of objective existence, not nihilism. And yet, perceiving that the entire world is sort of blind to this reality in large part, you will feel a great degree of compassion and a profound respect for conventional truth. As Lama Tsongkhapa says, we must not denigrate conventional truth, and indeed the entire Prasangika philosophy is based on an acceptance of our conventional reality. With those words, welcome, and it's wonderful to be chairing this student panel, so over to the experts. Thank you. So we'll start with Miss Sevang Lamola, who is doing her MA in Buddhist Studies from Delhi University.
Thank you, Gavrila, and very good afternoon, everyone. Tashi Tele. First of all, I would like to thank Venerable Geshe Dorje Tamdula and David House staff members and everyone for allowing me to speak in this conference. Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta Doten Pa Nirjak, Theory and Practice in Theravada and Mahayana as a student panelist. My journey in this field of Buddhist philosophy, psychology, practice and science began with the need to help others. And I'm trying to learn and understand with a broader perspective with the help of Venerable Geshe Dorje Tamdula. And I'm so thankful to Geshe-la for sharing his wisdom and kindness to us. And with my limited understanding, I have tried to reflect on that why we want to be mindful. The most important part that drives me to practice mindfulness as Venerable Geshe Tenzin Damcho has mentioned that nobody wants suffering and everybody wants happiness, maximum happiness and fearlessness state of mind. And as Geshe-ma Tenzin Ladrunla have mentioned that because of ignorant cause and condition give rise to miserable rebirth in samsara, and since we are all striving for happiness, maximum happiness, so a sensible person will not try to be a cause creating problems to others, to help others and to guide his or her own body, speech and mind, which determine our actions, to bring stability to our mind, to most importantly to develop skillfulness, because there are times when I tried to help others but instead I created more suffering on them. So as Buddha's main teaching is, do not commit non-virtuous action, perform only virtuous action, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of Buddha. So here it goes. And mindfulness helps us to intensifying our virtue and make our practice effective and productive. Well, the four mindfulness mentioned in the text Abhisamaya Alankara, which is written by Arya Maitreya and known as Gyavachamba in Tibetan, and in Majjhima Nikaya, the Pali Sutta Patana Sutta and Satipatthana Sutta of the Dik Nikaya and other sutra. In Abhisamaya Alankara Sutra, the ornament of clear realization, there is mentioning of four mindfulness, or the four placement of mindfulness, the mindfulness of body to be impure, the mindfulness of feelings to be unpleasant or misery, and the mindfulness of phenomena to be impermanent, and the mindfulness of phenomena to be selfless nature. The first one, the mindfulness of body to be impure, as when somebody dies and what happens to the body after the immediate death, or the same body, what happens to it after 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks so on, we can see that the body, the color and body texture of the body changes, the glow of the body disappears, and after a while the body starts to smell, and it is so repulsive to look at the organs separately, and even if we stop taking shower, our body start to stink and we look shabby, filthy and unclean, as told by yesterday by one of the speakers. And I remember Venerable Geshe Dorje Tamdula has mentioned in class that His Holiness Dalai Lama has mentioned that in Thailand monastery there are pictures on the wall depicting the stages of body after death. And also Professor Asanga Tilarakne mentioned yesterday the 9 stages of decomposition of the body. So in one way we can say that our body is not pure as we think it is. And I have found another source, the text from the Tibet House Manual Prayer, the Blaze of Non-Dual Bodhicittas, where His Holiness the 7th Dalai Lama mentioned the 4 mindfulness, the mindfulness of spiritual mentor, the mindfulness of compassion, the mindfulness of your body as a divine body, and the mindfulness of view of emptiness. Lama Tsongkhapa has passed down this teaching to Jetsun Sherab Singye, called as the rain shower of feast, a mindfulness of flower, for mindfulness as a guide to the view of middle way. So we can take the mindfulness of body to be pure and impure, depending upon to the grosser and subtler level of the reflection and practice of the individual person. And the second one is the mindfulness of feeling to be suffering, where there are 3 kinds of feelings: unpleasant feeling, pleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. As mentioned today in the morning session by Venerable Professor Tashi Tsering, that unpleasant feeling, nobody wants unpleasant feeling, and even animal can recognize it easily, and we don't need a reasoning to identify the unpleasant feeling. It is the first level of suffering, that is suffering of suffering. As mentioned yesterday by Venerable Geshe Ngawang Sonam, there are 3 levels of suffering: suffering of suffering, suffering of change, pervasive condition suffering. So the unpleasant feeling is the suffering of suffering. In Tibetan we call it dungal ki dungal, like aging, sickness and death. And the unpleasant feeling, where 99% of the people like this feeling, it falls under the second level of suffering, that is suffering of change, gyurve dungal. So the pleasant feeling falls under the second level of suffering, because it is the nature of suffering, where we don't want happiness, but we don't have the freedom not to have the suffering. So it is the second level of suffering, and it is the loss of freedom, and it is worse than the first level of suffering, that is suffering of suffering. And the third one is the neutral feeling, that is where 99% of the people don't even recognize this feeling. It falls under the third level of suffering, that is pervasive condition suffering. So in Tibetan we could call it Khepa Duche Ki Dungal. And it is a deeper level of suffering, where the mind and body operates under the influence of contaminated karmas and afflictions. And neutral feeling sees objects to be objectively real, and this is ignorance, and ignorance is what defines samsara. And third one is the mindfulness of mind to be impermanent. The mind that experiences the feeling is impermanent, momentary. Mindfulness mind to be impermanent is the basic tool to understand the emptiness of mind. As Venerable Geshe Lopon Pema Wangdak has pointed yesterday, that there is nothing that is permanent, unitary and independent self. So everything is in the nature of objective existence. Everything arises in a moment and ceases in a moment. Now the fourth one, the mindfulness of phenomena to be selfless nature. The meditation on emptiness of phenomena, other than the first 3, is the mindfulness of phenomena to be selfless in the context of mindfulness of the phenomena. And upon doing the ultimate analysis, we can see that the 4 mindfulness, the mindfulness of body, the mindfulness of feeling, the mindfulness of mind, and mindfulness of phenomena in the nature of emptiness. Okay. And it is beautifully explained in the Upali requested sutra. The various delightful flower blossoms and the sparkling supreme golden abodes stand so alluring. For none of these there is a creator. They are posted by the power of thought. It is through conceptualization that the world is imputed. And Satipatthana, now in the end, I would like to say that the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, the four placement of mindfulness is related to four seals as done by Venerable Geshe-ma Tenzin Ladron, and dependent origin mantra, that all phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes is as well taught by the great seer, by my teacher Venerable Geshe Dorje Damdula, and the Four Noble Truth by Venerable Geshe Ngawang Sonam and other speakers. And Dr. Rana Purushottam has related the mindfulness with three lakhana, or the three characteristic of the world, that is Sabbe Samkhara Anicca, Sabbe Samkhara Dukkha, and Sabbe Dhamma Anitta. At last, I would like to conclude my speech by expressing my greatest gratitude to my teacher, Venerable Geshe Dorje Damdula. And thank you, Geshe-la, for guiding me and transforming my life. And everyone who has given me this platform to speak on this conference. And the audience, thank you for listening to me. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lamola. Our next speaker is Mr. Yamit Kashyap, PhD Scholar, Humanities and Social Sciences Department, IIT Delhi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to present a talk in front of venerables, in front of distinguished scholars, and others who have assembled here. I am undergoing philosophical training, so I apologize in advance if I throw some heavy words. I'll try and not do that. As the title suggests, we are looking at theory and practice in Theravada and Mahayana, and not philosophy, theory and practice. But certainly philosophy is also very important, just as much as theory is important, for the simple reason that theory systematizes the set of instructions that is required in practice. But philosophy also raises the question reflexively about what is that is happening, about why what is happening, and what is the reason for this. Therefore, when the Buddha speaks about the right views, the philosophical reflection also becomes a very important part of it. Now, what I'm going to do for the next 9 minutes is try to touch upon some of the points that were raised yesterday and today, some of the points that stimulated me further. The first point that I'd like to bring up was, as Professor Bhatt had mentioned, about Arya Dharmakirti's Nyaya Bindu, and he had mentioned the first verse in it about right knowledge. The second verse mentions about right knowledge being twofold, and in the commentary it is explained thoroughly that twofold does not mean two different kinds or two different types. It's twofold in the terms that we are looking at it in two different ways. Satipatthāna and the establishment of mindfulness is not four different types, not four different kinds, it's fourfold. It's our way of looking at it, it's our categorization of it into body, into sensations / feelings, into mind, and into mental phenomena. Therefore, they are not four different techniques, they're not four different establishments. They are the same. It's just that within the conventional language, Buddha chose to categorize it within these four different phenomena. Now, why only four? Because the four, comprehensively, they account for the totality of the mind-body phenomena. When we have to analyze the truth, and truth can be only analyzed within the body, within the mind, the totality of the mind-body phenomena has to be analyzed. Goenkaji's tradition has been mentioned a lot in the past yesterday and today, and Vedanupasana, of course, is the emphasis of the Goenka tradition. Now, it's not the case that Vedanupasana, or indeed any separate Satipatthāna will lead you to the Nirvana. As was mentioned, Sati is only awareness. Awareness does not lead to Nirvana. But the establishment is important. A lot of Buddhist text is metaphorical. And we have to keep in mind this metaphoricity and the context being the soteriological scheme. All the texts are written keeping in mind that one wants to attain liberation for the benefit of oneself and for the benefit of others. Keeping this in mind, we have to understand that the translation of patan or upatan into establishment, into presence, into placement has their own several purposes. They all can serve, they all can be directing to the right way. But the original Pali word, the utpatan or the patan, if it cannot be translated into a proper English term, then we might as well leave it as untranslatable without leaving the meaning which it conveys. And what is the meaning that it conveys? Another metaphor is used that once you have crossed the river of samsara through using the raft, whatever the raft be, whether it is Vajrayana or whether it is Theravada or whether it is Shravakyan, whatever the terms one might use. But once one has crossed the river of samsara, one leaves the raft. Ergo, if one is using this metaphor of establishment or placement, at the end, certainly when sati has been established, then we do not need the Satipatthana. This also has to be kept in mind, that it is not the entirety of the way. It is a tool that carries one beyond the shore. And now, totality of mind-body phenomena, ergo 4 distinct divisions. To think that there is only one Satipatthana that will lead to nirvana is, I think, to think in terms of an essentialist thinking, where we are thinking that this is it, this is what I need to do, and this will get me to the other shore. But entirety of Buddhism is not essentialist, it's dependent. You cannot, if it were possible to have only one thing, then I do not think Buddha would have so many discourses, other than the discourses that he had to give for individual students. The third point that I'd like to make is related to Vedanupasana only, related to Goenka tradition, and related to the Shunyata. When Goenka ji lays a lot of emphasis on Vedana, he does this for the reason that Vedana is the arising and the passing away of the feeling and the sensation. And note the two translations. The two translations differ in the two traditions. The Mahayana tradition would take the translation as feeling, the cognitive emphasis. The Theravada translation takes it as sensation, the physiological emphasis, the emphasis on the practice. There go, when Buddha talks about the entire mass, the entire totality of mind-body phenomena, being a mass of vibration or abhanga jnana, what he means is that the vibration, which is not a thing, it's a phenomena. Ergo, as one goes from a gross to a subtler vibration, we only get two vibrations. We do not get to any inhering substance underlying beneath the phenomena. This also, from the Mahayanist point of view, would be the direct path to realization of Shunyata itself, where upon fundamental analysis of our own mind-body phenomena, where we direct our attention, where we use the metaphor of saying as we go closer and closer, we come up empty of any substance underlying the phenomena. Therefore, it's not also a nothingness in the sense that we do not know, this is our finitude. We cannot say that there is nothing. All we can say is that the phenomena that we have analyzed, it comes up empty, it comes up without any substance. The third point that I like to make, and this will be the pre-final point, is that the use of the term Hinayana to refer to the Theravada techniques, not only is it not demeaning, but also it is an incorrect understanding of Buddhism. At least within Buddhism, the idea of nirvana is very much related to compassion. One cannot attain nirvana without compassion. Compassion and wisdom go hand in hand. It is just that the emphasis is laid on one aspect in one tradition and on the other aspect in the other tradition. It is not the nirvana of Buddhism to think that it is possible for me to attain liberation for myself. And similarly, it is not possible for me to work out for others. For if I am myself drowning in the river of suffering, I cannot help anyone else. The two go hand in hand. And the last point that I like to make is about this threefold way of looking at a phenomenal existence, the phenomenal existence of the mind-body phenomena, for which this text, which we might take it as an instruction manual of meditation, is designed. It is designed for the meditator to practice. Ergo, it has some phenomenal existence. But when we establish sati progressively, we find that ontologically we have run up empty, and therefore we cannot find any I, ergo anatta. We only find vibrations, a flux, a change, ergo anicca, and are clinging on to it, the dukkha, the three marks, and the shunyata itself, the fourth seal. Now, all the words, all the terms that I have used, these are the verbal designations within the conventional language to explain a path, to explain its end, and to explain the benefits. Certainly in the case there is no path, there is no, but that is the objective existence, not the phenomenal existence. The last point being that when we are discussing Satipatthana, especially mentioning Goenkaji's tradition, we have forgotten one translation which has not been touched at all. It is a translation of sati into not only mindfulness, but a translation into awareness. And with awareness, there is another term that comes up, it's a mere awareness. To say, for example, that I observe body in body would only be an observation if I were observing body in body, mere awareness. If I were to be thinking that this is my head, this is my hand, this is my leg, that wouldn't be observation of body in body, that would be having a thought, having a reflexive thought about body. Mere awareness, what Acharya Dharmakirti mentions as the intuition of the yogi, the direct perception, not an inference, neither for myself nor for the other. The direct intuition, the direct perception of the yogi is the awareness, the mere awareness. Ego, the awareness of body in body becomes when one directly perceives the phenomena of body. And in its subtlest form, one perceives that in Vedana, in sensation. And similarly for the case of Chitta Anupasana and Dhamma Anupasana, in its subtlest form, one has a direct perception of cognition, bereft of any conceptualization which follows that cognition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there can be a lot of discussion on terminologies, direct perception, and in the different traditions and what is meant. Our next speaker is Mr. Stanley Lotus, who is doing an MA in Buddhist Studies at the University of Delhi.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. First of all, my sincere thanks to Tibet House Delhi for organizing this event and giving me an opportunity to speak regarding the two-day conference on such a platform. And also to all our distinguished venerables, professors, and other speakers who made this event possible. So, within 2 days, each of our mind must be by now absolutely equipped with, to some extent, with all these mindful theories, which is actually a good reminder for us to be in a mindful state. And now later after this conference, and we all are so fortunate here to get exposed to such an important mindful discourses, which was taught by the Buddha Shakyamuni himself. The Buddha delivered the Satipatthāna Sutta. First of all, I would like to say that most of my understanding on Satipatthāna Sutta will be according to our teacher, Venerable Geshe Dorje Lamdula. The Buddha delivered the Satipatthāna Sutta, the sutra on the four placement of mindfulness, to a gathering of more than 300 bhikkhus in Kamasadam, which was the capital of Kuru. As yesterday Dr. Ujjwal Kumar and today Dr. Prachu mentioned that Kuru was an ancient place in northern Iron Age India, including the modern modern-day states of Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, and western part of Uttar Pradesh. It still remains a contradictory place. It can be anywhere around this place. It can be this place where you're sitting right now. Who knows? So Satipatthāna was a sutra fundamental for this practice of meditation. The Buddha referred to it as the path which could help every person attain peace of body and mind. One can overcome all sorrows and lamentations, eliminate suffering and grief, attain highest understanding and total freedom. This sutra is one of the most important sutra to study, memorize, and practice. When we say Satipatthāna here, Sati means mindfulness and Patthāna means to be established firmly and deeply, where practitioner remains aware of everything taking place in his body, feelings, mind, and phenomena, which are the four placements of mindfulness or awareness. Now, if we want to understand the four placements of mindfulness, we have to choose a very standard text such as Abhisamaya Lankara, the ornament of clear realization by Arya Maitreya, which is an important text. The four mindfulness are mentioned in two ways: common presentation and uncommon presentation of our for mindfulness, through which we can have a better understanding of the different perspective of both Theravada and Mahayana tradition. Both the different traditions, those who speak personal liberation, those who seek personal liberation, and those who seek Buddhahood for all beings, something which is common to both practitioners is known as common presentation. Something which is uniquely presented for Mahayana practitioner is common presentation. When we say placement of mindfulness, this mindfulness, they place the mind on something. Here, mindfulness is the subject and something is the object. We have to understand this in terms of subject and object. So, moving on to the first, mindfulness of body in Pali, which is also known as Kaya Anupassana. Here, object is the body and object is to be seen in two ways: object as characterized and object as characteristic. For example, a glass being fragile, in this case glass is characterized and its characteristic is fragile. When we speak about mindfulness of the body, we should think of body as being impure. So mindfulness of the body to be impure. Here, body is characterized and being impure is its characteristic. Without going into extensive studies, we consider our body as so objective and tangible. The body actually is very delicate, and we see our internal organs. When we see our internal organs separately, is so repulsive to see at such time. So we should think about aging of a person, looking at your school time class 5 photograph, and now when you are now when you are studying in the university, we can just see ourselves, what body transformation we got. By thinking of such, experience will come to us. Under body contemplation, the Buddha taught two types of meditations, shamatha and vipassana. So he also included anapanasati. So if you are practicing anapanasati, you are practicing body contemplation. Shamatha is referred to as calm or tranquility, and technically shamatha is defined as single-pointedness of the mind. So shamatha meditation is a method to develop strong and deep concentration, which is single-pointedness on the object. Shamatha meditation is the training of concentration, and vipassana meditation is the training of wisdom. So moving on to the next is mindfulness of feeling, which is also known as Vedana Anupassana. Mindfulness of the feeling to be unpleasant or miserable. When we say all feelings are unpleasant, for this our blind faith shouldn't be there. First we have to study, then experience, and then meditate upon this to gain conviction. Then only transformation can take place within us. To convince someone mindfulness of feeling to be of unpleasant nature, firstly, we should know that there are three kinds of feelings: unpleasant feeling, pleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. Secondly, unpleasant feeling are in the nature of suffering, and pleasant feeling are in the nature of suffering of change, and neutral feelings as pervasive condition of suffering. Number third is mindfulness of the mind, also known as Chitta Anupassana, mindfulness of the mind to be impermanent. The mind decides and experiences different states of mind, such as yesterday being happy and today being depressed. At one place showing anger and at another place being kind. This shows how mind is a nature of impermanent. It is not static. Mindfulness of the mind to be impermanent can become like a tool to understand the emptiness of the mind. We should make a time-lapse video in our camera to see how everything moves fast. We don't have the ability yet to see the impermanence of mind at subtle level. To get into such subtleness, experience of impermanence, one should first have the gross experience, and this is how we contemplate our mind. Number 4 is mindfulness of the phenomena, Dhamma Anupassana. Mindfulness of the phenomena to be selfless nature. This is a meditation on the emptiness of the phenomena. There is no intrinsic nature, self-nature of any phenomena due to the misinterpretation of the phenomena, the way an ordinary person sees the self-entity of the object or sees the object as independently existing and objectively real is because of the self-grasping ignorance. The ultimate truth is every phenomena is dependently originated, which is also known as Paticca and has an empty nature. So this was a common presentation of the 4 mindfulness pertaining to the Theravada practitioners as well as Mahayana practitioners. Uncommon practice, which is done in the Mahayana tradition theoretically, is easy, but practice is far too difficult. In the uncommon practice of Mahayana, all the 4 mindfulness of the body, feeling, mind, and phenomena are in the nature of emptiness. During the inaugural session, Venerable Geshe Dorje mentioned in his keynote address to see mindfulness of the body to be impure, mindfulness of the feeling to be pleasant nature, and not to see it as attractive and desirable, but suffering nature. Mindfulness of the mind as impermanent, and mindfulness of the phenomena to be selfless nature. He also mentioned that when we see body, feeling, mind, and phenomena to be empty, then you establish your into the ultimate reality. I'll skip the 3 characteristics of the world. So I would like to end with the story of Angulimal. So one day when Buddha entered Shravasti, everyone remains inside their house because of the fear and terror of Angulimal. As the Buddha walked slowly and mindfully down the street, he could hear the sound of footsteps running behind him in the distance. He knew it was Angulimal, but he kept no fear. He continued to take slow steps, aware of everything taking place within him and outside. From this, we can see how the Buddha remained mindful even during the terror of Angulimal when approaching towards him. Therefore, our mindfulness shouldn't be shaken by any internal or external factor as to lead a mindful life and for the purification of mind. At the end, I would like to conclude my presentation without forgetting our 2 aspirations, which are the state of fearlessness or Nibbana and the infinite happiness or Buddhahood. With the steadiness of sati, we'll strive to eliminate the root cause of suffering, that is self-grasping ignorance, to achieve the ultimate happiness. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Lotusla. We now have Mr. Rinzing Gurmit, PhD scholar, Department of Buddhist Studies, University of Delhi.
Good morning, everyone. I'm feeling humble and very thankful to Tibet House, especially Kishila and his young and energetic team. In 10 minutes, I won't be finished my reading entire paper. So it's quite lengthy. So I just so in introduction, I would like to skip my introduction part. So mainly, I was talking about the suffering only. So with one stanza from Gulmohar, Uttaratantra, an important Mahayana text on Buddha nature. It is said, as it is necessary to diagnose the sickness. So next. I want to I'll come to the main point. So the Satipatthana practice is one of the most popular practice to train our emotion and mind, which is known as Vipassana in the world. Vipassana and Satipatthana are same. There are two popular original texts as foundation for this practice, which is known as Satipatthāna Sutta and Mahasatipaṭṭhāna Sutta. So I'll skip rest. And in etymology of Satipatthana, it's most of the scholar has already explained it. So but I just would like to little bit touch to the Tibetan. It's called Dempa Nyawar Shakpa. Dempa Nyawar Shakpa. Dempa, it's basically it's a memory or a mindfulness as well. So Nyawar Shakpa means just keep a place closely on what keep like our mindfulness on body and feelings and our mind and phenomena. So I'll jump to next thing in the Satipatthana Sutta or Mahasatipaṭṭhāna Sutta. So there are 6 meditations recorded in this sutra, which involves the contemplating on body, beginning with the mindfulness of breathing, the posture of the body, mindfulness with clear comprehension, the reflection on the body, in the body, the reflection on the material elements, and 9 symmetry contemplation. And there are 3 kind of feelings as pleasant, painful, and neither pleasant nor painful feelings. One should contemplate on feelings arising from the body, mind, and without any distinction. One should also observe the impermanence of feelings and see closely the origination of feelings and a dissolution of it. So this I don't want to I'll just skipping this the content. So directly I want to come to the thing that I have studied different translation of Satipatthana Sutta in English, almost the 4 different translation, and also there's a Tibetan version of this Satipatthana known as Smriti Upasthana. So it's Dode Dempa Nyawar Shakpa. It was quite lengthy. So I went through. I couldn't I couldn't go through all the in detail. It is there in the Kangyur. But there's another version of summarized by Karmapa Rangjung Dorje. So I went through that. So there's a different. There's a 10 chapters in that, and the content is totally different from the Satipatthana Sutra, the one we are talking about. So in the first chapter, it talks about the cause and effects. I'm the Tibetan version. And second one, it talks about the hell realms. Third chapter is talks about hungry ghost realms. Fourth chapter, animal realms. Fifth chapter about human realms. Sixth chapter is about the desire realms, and 7th chapter it is about form realms, and 8th chapter is the formless realms. 9th chapter is about the body and path, and 9th chapter it is about the world realms, and the 10th chapter it is about the body and path. So it was translated by the Gelung Tsultrim Gelsen with his colleagues Indian Panditas. So now main topic that I'm going to talk today is there are about the the Satipatthana practice in during the accumulation of path, and the Satipatthana practice in the Buddhicitta Charyavatara written by the Shantideva. So I'll just read it. There are various ways of practicing Satipatthana in Mahayana Buddhism, like Theravada school. Due to the limited knowledge, I'm not in the right position to explain everything here, but I'll try my best to share a glimpse of Satipatthana practice which appear during the aspects of 5 parts of Mahayana Buddhism and practice of selflessness phenomena of wisdom chapter of Bodhicitta Charyavatara. First, in Janchu Lamdrun Buddhipada Paradipam, it says Dedar dingi gomjene rimgi so thobjene rabga la so thobyurde sange janju yumering. If one so meditates, gradually one will attain the heat, etc. stages, supreme joy, etc. ground will be achieved. Then one is not far from the enlightened Buddhahood. There are 5 aspects of path, which are the path of accumulation, the path of application, the path of insight, the path of meditation, the path of complete perfection. The first one is called the path of accumulation, because in the path of in this path, one accumulates virtues in order to become a vessel for the realization of heat and so forth. There are 3 stages of this path of accumulation, known as lesser stage, middle stage, and greater stage. The practice of Satipatthana comes under the umbrella of lesser stage of path of accumulation because of its quality of this stage. There are 4 types of Satipatthana, like we discussed before: body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. The way of practice sustaining mindfulness here in little different than the same practice we discussed earlier in the Satipatthana Sutta. Sustaining mindfulness of body starts here by analyzing outer worldly environment, own inner body, and middle body of all living beings with the perfection of wisdom, and keep space like emptiness on meditative equipoise, and complete as a dream and illusion during the subsequent attainment, Nyamshak and Jetop. So, sustaining mindfulness feeling here is to analyze the feelings of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral with the perfection of wisdom, and keep this on meditative equipoise as in the state of unproduced and unborn, and there has to contemplate as essenceless like banana tree, and suffering by nature during this time of subsequent attainment. Sustaining mindfulness of mind is to analyze different level of discrimination with the perfection of wisdom, and keep on meditative equipoise as in the state of inherent emptiness, and understand the nature of mind as non-existent and uninterrupted at the time of subsequent attainment. Finally, sustaining mindfulness of phenomena is to analyze all the compositional phenomena with the perfection of wisdom, and keep on nature of sameness, and see all the phenomena as dream and illusion at the time of subsequent attainment. Now Satipatthana practice in Bodhicitta Charyavatara, like many of the scholars already discussed extensively, but like to benefit myself, I'm going to repeat it again. So Satipatthana practice in Bodhicitta Charyavatara also has 4 objects of meditation like before. The first of the 4 objects is body, feelings is the second, third is the mind, fourth object is phenomena. When we start clinging to this object, we would begin to experience what we discussed at the beginning. However, if you understand and analyze the reality of this object, we would definitely transcend all samsaric suffering. We begin the practice with the mindfulness of body. There are 3 ways of viewing the practice of mindfulness of body. The first is to examine the general body. The second approach is to examine the parts of body in particular. And third one is abandoning the attachment towards body. The first one is to examine the physical body. We develop the mindfulness of general body, which is seeing the wisdom. Wisdom, it is said that the same is seeing. I'm skipping the stanza that has Shandideva has mentioned in the Bodhicitta Charyavatara. So we have a strong tendency to believe the real existence of self is the form of mind or body. But when we start reflecting on body with the mindfulness by analyzing on the different organ of our body, we cannot find an independent self. Rather, we discuss merely combination of different organs organs. So what we experience is the existence of our body is simply our perception and projection. There's no real existence of a physical body outside. It's merely arises when the perfect cause and conditions are assembled. I'm skipping again the stanza that is given in the Buddhista Charya. Second is to examine the part of the body in particular. So this different parts of the particles even doesn't exist. This is a more subtle way of reflecting on different parts of our body in particular. Not only our physical body, even its parts also doesn't exist in reality, including its subtlest particles, as everything is like a space and non-existence. Third one is abandoning the attachment. I quickly try to finish it. Third one is the abandoning attachment towards the body. This has to realize through the mindfulness that there is no point of clinging to something doesn't exist, as everything we experience with our gross mind and body, merely illusion like a dream. The second stage of mindfulness of feelings, which is to develop through samsaric feelings of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings. There are three kinds of this mindfulness practice, which are known as examining the nature of feelings, examining the cause of feelings, examining the result of feelings, the result of the feelings. So I'm skipping this part. So I'm just.
I think if you can end now, then.
So I'll just. I think this important. The third. This I just quickly there's about the mindfulness of mind and mindfulness of phenomena. I have few lines. I'll just summarize. Okay.
Please summarize.
All right. So yeah, I think I'll just jump to the mindfulness of phenomena. The phenomenal wall is not within our mind in form of thought. The phenomenal wall is also object of our mind, which we experience with body, speech, and mind. All these phenomena exist merely in conventional level due to the interdependent origination. As it is said, everything arises from emptiness and everything dissolved into emptiness. There is no separation between form or appearance, and emptiness arises from the appearance, and the appearance arises from the emptiness. There is no emptiness without appearance, and there is no appearance without emptiness. This is what we call the interdependence nature, or nature of all phenomena. Now conclusion, with the quote that the Professor Tilak Ratna yesterday mentioned, that there's a more reason to be together, the Mahayana and Theravada. So I think this initiative organizing discussion on the Satipatthana it's a great hope that instead of just the Mahayana looking down to the Hinayana and the Theravada again, complaining Mahayana as not the pure form of Buddha's teaching. So yeah, with this note, I would like to thank you for all the audience for bearing with me. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. That's a very good paper ready to be published, I think. Our next speaker, Mr. Pushkar Singh, and he is doing a PhD from the Department of Buddhist Studies at the University of Delhi.
Good afternoon, all the venerables, all my teacher, all seniors, and my fellow friends. Myself, Pushkar Singh, I am pursuing my PhD from Department of Buddhist Studies, University of Delhi. First of all, I would express my gratitude to Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdulla and Tibet House staff. They gave me the opportunity to express my views on this Satipatthāna Sutta in this international conference on the well-renowned dignitaries from all over the world, from different universities, from different institutions, and from different monasteries and sects like Vaibhasika, Sautantrika, Chitramatrada, and Prasangik Madhyamik, and Tibetan, Nyingma Shakya Geluk Kagyu. They presented their wonderful papers and enlightened us. Now yesterday, Venerable Dhampiya beautifully explained the purpose of Satipatthana. He said, When we born, there have been thousands of imprints on our psyche. We think they are gone, but they are not. They are remain with us. When we practice the mindfulness, the imprints manifest and slowly calm down. When mind purifies, the compassion and loving kindness develop. If everybody follow it, the world will be wonderful automatically. Yesterday, Professor Bhattji, he explained about 4 types of mindfulness within 8-fold path, within Arya Ashtangik Marg, that is Samyak Drishti, Samyak Sankalp, Samyak Vas, Samyak Karm, Samyak Ajivika, Samyak Vyayam, Samyak Smriti and Samyak Samadhi. Within that, he explained Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, and Vedananupassana, and Chittanupassana, and Dhammanupassana. Then Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdullah explained Sutta, which Asatji explained to the Sariputta when Sariputta met Asatji. That is, Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetunde san tatha gato yavdat te sanchayo nirodho em vadi mahasarmane swaha. All phenomena arises by causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of causes as well is taught by the great seed. Whenever Sariputta listened the sutta, and he went to his friend Venerable Mahamoggallana, and they both entered into the Sangha. Then Professor Saraswati ji recited the verse from Dhampada, which is related to Chittanupassana, that is Pandanang Chapalang Chittang Durakhang Dunivaryang Ujung Karoti Medhavi Usuka Aurvate Janang. think चित्त चपल है, चंचल है, जिसको वश में रखना बहुत कठिनाई से रक्षणीय है. इस जैसे मेधावी लोग चित्त को सीधा करते, जैसे बाण बनाने वाला तीर को सीधा करता है, उसी तरह मेधावी लोग चित्त को ढालते हैं, चित्त को सीधा करते हैं. Then he explained about Srutimai Paiya, Chintamai Paiya and Bhavanamai Paiya. She explained about the therapy and correlate it with the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta beautifully. Then Dr. Ujjwal Kumar ji explained why the Buddha delivered Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta at Kammaspur through the story of a nun and her parrot. The text says people of that area had some special quality like Sravaka. As early in the morning, Professor Tilak Ratna also said about it. And further, yesterday, Professor Arvind Alok ji recited one verse and said it is generally not related to this particular topic, but sitting 2 days here, I feel if anyone follow the mindfulness will automatically inhale. The verse is Nahi Verena Verani Samanthid Kutajana Averena Hi Verani as Dhammo Sanantano. Hatred is indeed never appeased by hatred. This is in this world. It is appeased only by loving kindness. This is an ancient law. Further, he uttered another verse, which our teacher from the University, Professor Hirapal Gangnegi, always said, if you don't know Buddha's teaching, no worry. You just remember this verse, that is, Sabba papas sakranam kusla sop sampada sachitta paryodapanang बुद्धान शासनंग. सब पापसाकरणं, सभी पापों को ना करना, कुशलस्थ उपसंपदा, कुशल कर्मों का संचय करना, सब पापसाकरण कुशलस्थ उपसंपदा, सचित्त परियोदपन, अपने चित्त को शुद्ध और परिशुद्ध करना, एतंग बुद्धान शासनंग, यही बुद्धों का शासन है. Then Dr. Animesh Prakash ji and Dr. Rana Purushottam ji beautifully explain about the chitta, about the kama vachar chitta, rupa vachar chitta, and arupa vachar chitta, and lokutar chitta. Within these, they explain about five skandhas, Rupa, Vedana, Sangya, Sanskar, Vijnana, and explain the ayatan, Chakhu, Sot, Ghan, Jihva, Kaya, Man, and 5 neuron, Kama, Chand, Vyapad, Thin, Vidya, Uddhacha, Kukuch, and Vichikiccha, then 5 Dhyanang, Vitak, Vichar, Piti, Sukh, Ekaggata. And about the 4 alamban, Akinchan, Akasanchanyayatan, Vijnananchanyayatan, Akinchanayatan, and Neo Sangya, Na Sanghayayatan. And in the morning session, Dr. Pransuji well explained about the Vedana from Goenka ji. Vedana samosarana sabbe dhamma. Everything that arises in the mind flows together with sensation. When I got a call from Tibet House last week for student panel, then I also tried to go through the original text, that is for Satipaṭṭhāna, that is Dignikaya, Majjhima Nikaya. While reading the text with Anapan Sati Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, about Satipatthana Sutta in detail, I have amazed to saw the names of the bhikkhus who were present at that time when Buddha recited the Anapan Sati Sutta. In Pali it is quoted, Eo me sutang, ekang samayang buddha, ekang samayang bhagwa savathyang viharati, pubba rame migar matu prasade, sambahu lehi abhyatehi therehi saokehi sadding, ayasmata cho sari putten, ayasmata cho mahamoggalan, ayasmata cho mahakassapin, ayasmata cho mahakacchayin, ayasmata cho mahakottiten, ayasmata cho mahakappinen, ayasmata cho mahachundin, ayasmata cho anuruddin, ayasmata cho revaten, ayasmata cho anandin, ayehi cho abhiyatehi therehi saokehi sandhing. Yesterday Geshe-ma said that the Buddha taught according to the people's mental capability, not everything to everyone. So the Buddha taught this Satipatthana Sutta in the presence of Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Mahamoggalana, Venerable Revata, and all other that kind of bhikkhus whose mental level is like somehow means they are not ordinary people, and the conference is like we are here from 2 days. Those who are attending the conference, they have means some extraordinary something like now finally the condition of most of us before attending this conference and after spending 2 days here, 2 days here is also mentioned in Samyukta Nikaya. What I feel in Samyukta Nikaya in Jata Sutta. At one time, Brahman Jata Bharadwaj went to Blessed One. After exchanging the friendly greetings, he addressed Blessed One with a verse. The same verse asked by the bhikkhus when Buddha Ghosha went to Anuradhapur for the original text, to getting the original text for translation. That is, Anto Jata Bahi Jata Jataye Jatita Paja Tang Tang Gautam Puchhami Ko Imang Vijati Jatanti. A tangle within a tangle. Sorry. Just 1 minute. A tangle within, a tangle without. People are entangled in a tangle. Gautama, I asked you this tangle. Then the Blessed One replied, Sile patithai naro sampayo payang chittang payang cha bhavayang atapi nipako bhikkhu ko so imang vijati jatanti. A man established in virtue, discerning, developing discernment and mind, a monk ardent, astute, he can untangle this tangle. Those whose passion, aversion and ignorance have faded away, arhants, their influence ended from them, the tangle untangles. They tangle untangles. Where the name and form along with perception of impingement and form totally stop without traces, that's where the tangle is cut. I am a student of Nalanda Master course and Nalanda Diploma course as well. Student of Venerable Keshe Dorji Damdullah, but my English is not so good, so I just skip the part because the English terminology is little difficult for me still here. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pushkarji, and all your other languages are so wonderful. So many of us can only speak one or two. So with that, I think there's no Q&A for this panel. So with all students and also me, count as a student of Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdullah. Yeah, and we hopefully will be lifelong students till the last day. And I think even the next day, if we are passing away, it's better to gain some knowledge. So with that, we end this wonderful panel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kavirila and our student panelists for this wonderful session. Before concluding this session, may I request Dr. Renuka Ji, Director Tushita Mahayana Center, Delhi, to please come on the dais and felicitate our speakers and chairperson. Yes, we are very honored to have Dr. Renuka Ji with us because she have compiled and edited the book Daily Inspiration from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which we are presenting as souvenirs to our all speakers. Mr. Rinzin Gyurme. Mr. Yamit Kashyap. Miss Tsewang Lamo. Dr. Kaveri Gilji. Mr. Stenzen Lode. Last but not the least, Mr. Pushkar Singh. Thank you, Dr. Renuka-ji. So we shall now break for lunch. The lunch will be served at left side of our hall, and after that, the next session will start at 2:15 p.m. Thank you.